Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And pretty much while all this distractions are going on, I actually just saw something here about saying that Trump is going to be at the Knicks game today. So they're closing down certain parts of, the area downtown and so on. But anyway, while all that is going on, you still have warning signs, right? And not only warning signs coming from, or let me say, not only warnings coming from those that are looking up ahead, right? As the scriptures mention, the prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Well, a part of what a prudent man does, right? A prudent man of the Lord is, after foreseeing the evil, they warn, right? They give warning, and then they hide themselves. And that's what the Lord is going to do when he brings that famine of the word. He's going to hide his men, okay? Because they through the prudence of the spirit that he has given them, the men of the Lord, they look through, right? Warn and then hide. Meanwhile, everybody else is distracted from the warning, and so they get caught up in this calamity to come. Now, what I have here is a headline from Zero Hedge. It says, "We are being warned," and I just remembered my other thought. You have the warnings, and then you have the warning signs. The things that are happening in the earth are warning signs. Yahweh Shai mentioned it, right? In Matthew, the 24th chapter, there's a reason he mentioned these signs. The earthquakes and pestilence and famines in diverse places. These things aren't happening just for fun, for coincidentally. These are the signs that even the earth is showing forth, letting you know that, hey, the end is here. So it says, we are being warned that a Godzilla El Nino could absolutely devastate global food production. In 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, I believe it's 2nd Ezra 16 and 24. And I brought this out before, but, this, actually not 16 and 24, 16 and 22, right? For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. This was written in there for a reason. It didn't say just, one specific location. That's why you're seeing these warnings about global, right? Most of these things are global energy disruption, global economy being destroyed, global food production being devastated. This is around the entire planet. Earthquakes in diverse places, these are happening around the planet. Okay? Pestilence around the planet. And yet people are not paying attention to these things. You look, these things have a greater impact and will have a greater impact than the other things that people are more worried about, right? The bread, the circus, the drama, and all of those things that really captivate a lot of people's minds and attention because it piques at it, it plays on your curiosity. That's not going to have as great an impact as these signs the Lord has warned us about. These are the ones that are going to be destroying the homes that you're living in, that your loved ones are going to be dying from, that people are going to be dying from, that most of the population is going to be culled or reduced by the hands of these prophecies. The impactful ones that we warn people about, right? So it says here, the waters of the Pacific Ocean are getting extremely warm, and that could provide fuel for an immensely destructive climate event that is unlike anything we have ever seen before. That is right in line with the theme of this time that we're in, which is the time of Jacob's trouble, right? Pursuant to Jeremiah, the 30th chapter and the 7th verse, as well as many other precepts. There's a reason why it was written the way it was. The Lord had it. See if I can find it. The Lord had it written down this way, perceived and understood and interpreted this way, because these were things that the prophets saw. They saw these things. That's why they said, like, there's nothing that can compare to this. Oh, well, speaking of the weather, Says here, I just saw a headline: declassified CIA files allege U.S. plans to control the world by manipulating the weather. Well, isn't that interesting? Anyway, I quoted this, Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. What none is like it means that this is the things that are happening in that time are unlike, right? Like we just read in this article here, unlike anything you've ever seen before. So that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And this is what we're warning about. We're warning about. We're warning about. We don't need to give you examples anymore because you can see it if you're looking. Like that. We're at the point where you don't need to look and imagine. You just need to look. They're right there in front of you. Just look. But then again, the more apparent and visible these prophecies become, the less people are able to see, the less inclined they are to even look and open their eyes. They don't want to do it. They've been conditioned not to. So let's read some more. Even the United Nations has issued an ominous warning about the El Nino event that is in the long-term forecast because it will have a dramatic impact on every man, woman, and child on the entire planet. Now, for those that are not familiar, I'll put it in like this. El Nino explained simply. So it says El Nino is a naturally occurring climate phenomenon where the surface water in the tropical Pacific Ocean becomes significantly warmer than average. This ocean warming weakens typical east to west trade winds, allowing warm water to pool toward the Americas and triggering massive shifts in global weather, storm patterns, and marine life. So there's a lot that it affects. And now what they're warning about is a Godzilla. I mean, if you describe something like that, that doesn't sound like it's going to leave without people noticing. We are being told that there is more than an 80% chance that El Nino conditions will arrive by the end of next month due to rapidly warming equatorial waters in the Pacific. So you have trouble that is brewing because of this Iran war, and they're giving dates. They're talking about if nothing is changed by end of June, right, going into July, then you're going to see this and this and this. Well, what we're talking about, or what we're reading about here, this is something that is, as we read, so-called naturally occurring. So this isn't something that's like, oh, let's ease up on the blockade and then, okay, everything is back to normal now. No. Meanwhile, an unprecedented 9,000-mile marine heat wave has developed in the North Pacific. Many experts are concerned that the confluence of those two factors could produce a Godzilla El Nino. The chance of an El Nino event emerging by July is now over 80%, which will likely make 2026 one of the hottest years on record. At the same time, an exceptionally large 9,000-mile marine heat wave has been forming in the North Pacific since the end of 2025. And you think these things are by coincidence? They're not by coincidence. Surprise, surprise. These extreme warming events are now evolving together across the Pacific. Scientists are increasingly concerned that the warm water will fuel a super or Godzilla El Nino, potentially prolonging marine heat waves, disrupting fisheries and ecosystems, and intensifying global climate impacts well into 2027. And guess what? That's not the only thing you got to worry about. Okay? So there's a lot going on over there. And one of the main things they're worried about here is the spark of famine or even greater famine due to that. Right? It says that Super El Nino, this is referring to one of them in the past, one of the major ones that happened in the past, sparked a horrific famine in Eastern Africa that wiped out a very large proportion of the population. Or did we not just read in Second Esdras that many, that's what it said, right? Many that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. That means they're going to die. Not that they're just going to be affected by it, but they're going to die. Now we're being warned that the most powerful Super El Nino of all time could potentially be ahead of us. We could see insanely hot temperatures all over the world this summer. And we are being told that we are likely to see severe drought conditions. That's in the book, Isaiah, the 19th chapter, right? The scriptures mentioned in Revelation 16, right? Also about the river Euphrates drying up. Well, if you're having extremely hot temperatures all around the world, that adds more and more to that, right? It says in Southern Africa, Australia, India, and Indochina Peninsula and Oceania. Jumping down a bit, it says here in the United States, we could see a lot less rain than normal in the Midwest, and temperatures in the heartland could be 3 to 6 degrees above normal. In other words, it would be horrible growing weather. Our farmers are already facing much higher, see, and this is where it gets more dangerous, because by itself maybe might be manageable, maybe, but now you're coupling it with other things. That's your poly crisis. Because as it says, farmers are already facing higher diesel prices, higher fertilizer prices, and a multi-year drought that never seems to end. And now a Godzilla El Nino could be on the way, and the World Meteorological Organization is telling us to brace for the worst. They're warning that this summer's El Nino event could be the worst yet, compounded by fertilizer shortages, inflation, rising oil prices. These shocks threaten to push an already fragile food industry to the brink, and the impact will land squarely in consumers' shopping baskets. And what I've been saying is, for a while, look, you have right now people are complaining, right? They're complaining about prices. Soon they're going to be, like it says in Revelation, the 6th chapter, all right, going into the inflation. Soon they're going to be not just complaining, they're going to be desperate, crying out, acting out over the prices. And then when it gets worse, they're going to wish that they could buy things for a high price, so long as they can even just still get something. But then you have to start dealing with scarcity, shortages. Now it's not just the price going up, it's can you even get it at all? Even if you had the money, can you even get it at all? And when you watch in the movie Leave the World Behind, you see that, right? One of the characters in there, he said he got all this money, but when society collapses, he's just useless. He's a useless man, because all that digital currency and money, it means nothing without the digital system, without a functioning economy, a functioning society. They show you that as well in the movie I Am Legend. All that money, what is it good for? There's nobody there. There's nothing. And that's why it mentions in Proverbs 11, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. Okay. Let's see. So that's what I wanted to go into on that. The next one here, which is also interesting. Yesterday, I did a video going into the push, right, by Google and Apple and other big tech companies for controlling and heavily restricting your access to your phones and the internet via the cover story of age verification to protect children, and tying that into the digital ID, basically making that a requirement, hiding behind that sort of backdoor of age verification. Well, now they're saying Google's new CAPTCHA plans will create a 2-tier internet-only accessible a 2-tier internet only accessible to those with approved devices. Now, whenever you're dealing with things like approved, when you have states, like in order to really determine states, you have a concept of a state machine, right? And that a state machine is where you transition, or what facilitates the transitioning from one state to another. So you can go from, pending or new to approved or rejected, or you can go from approved, which is one state, to, offender or unapproved or a violation, something. You transition from one state to another, right? So if you can be put in a state of approved, you can also be removed from that state. And just because you become approved doesn't mean you will always stay approved. So what do they mean by this? It says, never mind Fancy Bear or the NSO group. The biggest threat to the open internet today is from the big tech corporations on which it has come to depend. And that's the thing. They realized they couldn't control the internet itself because in order for the internet to function, you need, it's like a web, and all your devices are a part of that web. Your routers, your computers, your phones, and they all send information one to another. So what is actually on, what information is being sent and passed, like they can't really control it to the degree they would like. So what's the next best thing? Well, if I cannot control, it's like me trying to control the roads. I can't control the roads, right? If I can control the roads, I can at least control the cars. Because if you can't access your car or you can't drive your car, then you ain't gonna get on the road anyway, right? So what they're now doing is, well, they're targeting the actual devices that you would use to access the internet. Your tablets, your laptops, your phones, your smartwatches, your smart TVs. If you can't, that's mainly how people access the internet today. If you can't use those to the degree you would like, then you're restricted. How can you access the internet? So it says here, for what else are we to conclude, given that Google appears to be working on a system to lock large parts of the internet behind a new form of CAPTCHA, completely automated public Turing test to tell computers and humans apart. Basically, these are you can see the picture right there, right? Where they tell you, oh, select this picture, this image here, and so on, to verify that you're not a robot or you're not a bot. They do that because some people can create, a program, for example, and the program goes on a certain website and they call it web scraping, right? Where it collects information from that website, but it's not a user using a mouse and keyboard to do it. And so they develop these like CAPTCHA programs to a human being can see that and say, oh yeah, they say click all the roads, and you go and click the roads. But it's harder for a program or a bot to be able to do that and decipher that. So they use that as sort of like a blockage. Well, once again, hiding behind these semi-valid, excuses, right? Like with the video I did yesterday, it was behind age verification. Well, you can just check the box and say that you're 18, but how do we actually know that you're 18? You click a YouTube video, it says, oh, this has mature content. Please make sure you're above this age before you continue. And then you just click, yes, I am, and continue. You could be a 12-year-old. How do they know and verify? They can't. But if they say, well, in order to use YouTube, you need to upload your driver's license and a video, quick selfie or a quick 8-second video of your face or yourself. And now that's tied to your YouTube account. So now we know that you are an adult. And then we allow you to use YouTube because that's one of the ways we can verify who you really are, because people tell lies. So these are the kinds of stories or excuses that they hide behind. Now, for all these years, now you realize that people can lie and bypass these things. So it's all designed on purpose, but it's because the internet has become like the wild, wild west with social media and so on, and it's harder and harder to control the narrative and control the information and the perception of the people. So now they need to clamp down with these restrictions here. Designed not to tell apart humans from bots, but instead to make an unperson of anyone who doesn't own an approved Android or Apple device. So if you are not considered a person, then you're blocked from using the internet like everybody else to a certain degree. But now, if you are made an unperson, right, because you don't have an approved device, it's the same as them considering you to be a bot. And it's like this. We make a new policy that says, well, if you're not a verified human being, we're not going to give you access to, let's say, use the internet. Well, how can I become a verified human being? Well, you need to have an approved Android or Apple device. And if you don't have an approved Android or Apple device, we're not going to consider you a verified human being. And if you're not a verified human being, going back to the first rule, you cannot use the internet like everybody else. That's the kind of games they like to play. Okay. Let me see what else is in here. It says, however, just as the dull name of age verification serves as a cloak beneath which schemes to end all truly personal computing can be smuggled. Yeah, because now they know who you are. You know what you're allowed to and not to post. But the second you post something, if they don't like that, they got your ID. They can pull up almost any and every information about you, because we all leave a digital footprint. Where do you live? What's your name? Where do you work? Who's your family? All of these things. Next thing you know, you're getting a knock at your door. Yeah, I noticed you posted, you retweeted or you reposted a meme, and it was a bit offensive. It has traits of being underlying terroristic tones in there. We're gonna need to take you in for some questioning. What? The danger here, or they could penalize you. They could say your digital ID is flagged for content that you watch that is dangerous, or content that you post that is dangerous. Well, how does that work? Think about it like this. Today, you use YouTube, right? YouTube, they take down your video, they take down your channel, you get mad, you go to Rumble, you go to Odyssey, you go to, some other platform. Well, if YouTube was to say, well, now, in order to use this platform, you got to upload your digital ID so we can identify who you are, okay? So you get flagged on YouTube. You say, okay, fine, I'll just go to Odyssey or Rumble. But if every other platform is also using the same verification method of digital ID, then what happens if you get flagged on one platform? Well, it's as simple as being flagged on all. Oh, you were flagged on YouTube for what? Because it's one system that connects everything. That's what they want. So if you're flagged on YouTube for, them saying conspiracy theories or whatnot, then if you try to sign up on Odyssey, the second you upload that digital ID, they're going to say, oh, wait, you've already been flagged on a different platform for this. That's a violation. So you can't use this platform either. Sorry. Now you're sort of cornered, you're trapped. It's not like how it is now where you just jump on here and create a new account. Use the same email even if you want. It's fine. Who's going to, do anything about it? But now they gain a broader and more restrictive level of control as they start to push these things. Because now they're talking about your physical devices, not on some server somewhere, on your physical devices. Okay. So it says here, just where we at. Right. The danger here could be much broader than the technically focused headline implies. As the sources discussing this are relatively few, it is hard to ascertain exactly what has been rolled out and what is still in the conceptual stages. But it appears that the new style of CAPTCHA threatens not just users with de-Googled phones, but anyone without an approved device. So they might put you in the bot category, and now you're stuck. All right. Let's see what else we got on here. It's as if, therefore, I'm just jumping through here. If it is therefore hard to see any rationale for a hardware attestation CAPTCHA except to cement the duopoly of Apple and Android and to break user anonymity. So you'll no longer be anonymous or unknown when using these devices. After all, what good is a VPN or Tor if every interaction you make with a website at the other end is connected back to you via a CAPTCHA which queries unique, unchanging identifiers on your phone? What does that mean? That means that you can't just change your IP address, right? You use one IP address to go to this website, and then you change that and go to, use a different IP address. So they can't tie it back to you. Well, what they're doing now is when you use a website, what the website tracks are maybe like the IMEI or, the MAC address or something that is fixed, immutable about your phone that doesn't change. It's built into it. It's a unique identifier. That is what it queries or it tracks. So it doesn't matter if you connect to a different, Wi-Fi, put a VPN on or whatever you put on. What they're tracking is something that was embedded into the phone during manufacturing time when the phone was being made. So you can't change that. And at that point, everything that you do on this phone is tracked right back to you. So as it says, even if the site you visit never gets this information itself, Google would have the opportunity to process it. Let's see, let's jump down a bit. It says here, even more terrifying is the technical possibility that hardware attestation could be used at the ISP level, internet service provider level. So Verizon, whatever other internet service provider you may be using, to obstruct freedom respecting devices from ever connecting in the first place, leaving an internet where big gov and big tech can mandate anything without fearing competitors. Basically, even if you have Verizon, you can't connect to the internet. Like, they block your shit. So now you're excluded. Imagine that. Boy, oh boy. And this article goes on and on and on. So I'm pretty much going to end it here. It was mainly these two articles here. Once again, sounding the alarm, right, and warning. And the prudent, will hear it, right? And they will keep this in mind and prepare. And what these things are to do is they're to push you closer and closer to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai. That's the point, right? We're not doing these lessons to say, oh, well, you see what Google's doing? Okay, so now go and build your own company and go and fight against Google. That's more than likely not going to be the case, right? This El Nino thing they're worrying about, what are you actually going to physically do about it? Some people have that mindset. Whoa, what can I physically do about it? So why do I care? That's where you're wrong. These things are a part of the fear of the Lord. It's to put in your mind that, damn, all this is happening, and once it gets here, what will I do? That question is what leads you to say, okay, well, you're saying all these things are going to happen, so what do I do? How do I prepare? And the preparation is having faith in the Lord, in the true names of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and His Son, Yahweh Shai, and doing right by the Lord, so that when these things come to pass, knowing ahead of time, being prudent, seeing this afar off, you've had enough time to not only get to know the Lord, but do what the Lord requires and build up enough good credits so that you can be protected in that time. You can find an escape in that time. That's the point of being aware. The more and more you see of this, the louder the alarm bells ring, the more urgency you move to fear and serve the Lord, so that you may, Lord willing, be in His good graces when they come to pass, and He can have mercy on you and deliver you. Not so that you can say, well, now I know I'm going to go. What are you actually going to do about it? Right? You can't go and stop this. This is all part of the Lord's will. But you have to be aware of these things. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rachak Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.